0864. Stations your final time cue will be with 15 seconds until airtime. Mark, 15 seconds until airtime.
The following is a presentation of Learfield. Welcome to Duck Insider.
Our whole athletic department, there's a level of expectations of success.
Throw, catch, touchdown, Oregon.
He can run and slam.
This is back out for a three. Left wing is good.
In the air to center, back at the wall. It's out of here.
Really excited that we get to rep our Ducks and hopefully come back to Eugene with some championships.
Indoor track and field national champion.
Oregon repeats as the Pac-12 champion.
And for the fourth time in the last 6 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions.
We have so many teams that are excelling right now, and it's really fun to be a part of.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
Game week! It is finally here, everybody. It is game week here at the University of Oregon. Fresno State already played a game, and we're all sitting here like, I was watching, I was going like, okay, here we go, guys. Oregon football is back at Autzen Stadium, 11 a.m. kickoff on Saturday. We will, of course, have a broadcast for you across the Oregon Sports Network on the radio side beginning at 9 a.m. with our good buddy Terry Johns taking you home all the way to kickoff. Jerry and Georgie will be on the air just after 11 o'clock because it's an 11:01 official kickoff. I say that because fans, those of you who will be at Autzen Stadium, we've been talking all about it. It's a new game day. There's going to be a lot of new policies at Autzen Stadium. Please bear with us. With that in mind, it's not like an 11:10 kickoff, 11:05 kickoff. This is an 11:01 kickoff. Going to get going quick. It's going to be on the Pac-12 Network as well on the TV side. What I always encourage you to do, you take Jerry and Georgie on the GoDucks Game Day app or via goducks.com/live audio, or if you're a subscriber to TuneIn, you can use the TuneIn app, the new Varsity Network app that has been released. You just listen to Jerry and Georgie. Maybe if you're listening on one of our terrestrial radio stations, whether it be Eugene, Portland, and beyond, you can sync them up that way. It's a beautiful thing. You get Jerry and Georgie calling the game, and you get to watch it on TV at the same time. It's really the only way to do it. Which reminds me, with kickoff coming up at Autzen Stadium, of course, that means that it's time to hear from Mario Cristobal, and we also have an organizational chart to tell you about. Your Facebook comments and questions, your YouTube comments and questions. If you're on Twitter live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, it is officially game week. Let's go. All right, today we're going to hear from Oregon soccer head coach Graeme Abel after his squad picked up a dominant 4-2 win over Northern Arizona yesterday. Oregon volleyball with a sweep to start the season. They played 9 sets. They won all of them, and they won 3 matches. Pretty darn good, and we're going to talk to Matt Ulmer on the show tomorrow. Just as we go on the air, Coach Moorhead wrapped up talking with the media, as did Coach DeRuiter and Coach Cristobal. Coach Cristobal met with the media for nearly 20 minutes. We have the greatest hits for you coming up in just a little bit. An update on the organizational chart, though. This is where we begin today. We've got a depth chart, ladies and gentlemen. Anthony Brown, as previously announced by Coach Cristobal on Friday, will be the starting quarterback for the Ducks. He will be backed up by either Ty Thompson, Jay Butterfield, or Robbie Ashford. There's a lot of oars on this depth chart this year. That means there's a lot of ongoing battles for the Ducks still. But Ty Thompson, Jay Butterfield, Robbie Ashford, all listed as an oar in the backup position. CJ Verdell, Travis Dye, both listed as starters. We've seen that. That's what it's all about. Trey Benson or Byron Cardwell or Seven McGee listed as the backups. In other words, Jim Mastro, the Oregon running back coach, he has a significant number of running backs. That was not the case in the spring. It just wasn't. These guys are all now getting healthy, as Sean Dollars looks like he's going to be a mid-season addition health-wise. At tight end, it's going to be Spencer Webb, backed up by the young freshman who's very impressive, Terrence Ferguson, and then Cooper Schultz. And then how about this? As the tight end Y position, Maliki Matavao is listed as the starter, or DJ Johnson or Cam McCormick. How about Maliki Matavao, though, getting involved with guys like Johnson and McCormick, the veterans who are working their way back with it. Johnny Johnson III is listed as the wide receiver starter at the Z position, backed up by the true freshman Dante Thornton, then Spencer Curtis. And Micah Pittman and Jalen Redd both listed as starters at the wide receiver H position. That's the slot spot for the Ducks, and Chris Hudson is there as their backup. And then this is maybe the first raise eyebrow moment if you're looking at all these top recruits that have come in for the Ducks. Troy Franklin is listed as the starting wide receiver at the X position. He'll be backed up by either Isaiah Crocker or Devin Williams. Devin Williams has been a little bit banged up. That's part of why Troy Franklin's listed as the starter, but also that just tells you how darn good Troy Franklin has been this year. Across the offensive line, the starters from left to right will be George Moore at left tackle, then TJ Bass at left guard. The center will be Alex Forsythe, the Oregon native. Ryan Walk, the Eugene native, listed as the right guard. And it's either Stephen Jones or Malasala Amave Laulu who will play right tackle for the Ducks. Those are the 6 guys that rotated for Oregon all of last year. They went from being the most experienced offensive line in 2019 to being the least experienced offensive line in 2020 for the Ducks. Now this same group is all back with a little bit more game experience under their belt. And the backups are some of the young guys like Jackson Powers-Johnson, Logan Sagapulu. Veope is backing up TJ Bass, Dawson Yaramillo, and Kingsley Suamataya, also all listed as backups. The one note that Mario Cristobal did have for you today is that Jonathan Dennis not on the 2-deep or 3-deep because he got a little bit banged up recently. Now to the defense. There's a few different positions to note here. The Joker and the Star. It's a little bit different than years past. That's what the positions are labeled in the Tim DeRuyter defense. Kayvon Thibodeau, the starter at the Joker position, backed up by Jake Shipley. Keonware Hudson will be the starter at D tackle with Christian Williams backing him up. Popo Amave will be listed as the nose tackle for the Ducks, and the D end is Brandon Dorless. Jason Jones, another big man, backs up Popo, and Suava Poti will back up Brandon Dorless. I don't think any of that comes as a surprise. Christian Williams is going to play quite a bit behind Keonware Hudson. You'll see Jason Jones in there quite a bit as well. I expect big things from the D end, Brandon Dorless, and the Joker, Kayvon Thibodeau. Drew Mathis or Justin Flo will start at the will linebacker position. I think you're going to see a lot of both of them, with the incoming guy in Keith Brown listed as their backup. Noah Sewell, no shock, will be the Mike linebacker. Nate Hukalani and Keith Brown both will be listed as the backup there. That just speaks to the versatility of the incoming guy in Keith Brown, being able to play both of those positions. The Sam linebacker is going to be Mace Funa or Adrian Jackson. I think you're going to see a lot of both of them, along with the Swiss Army knife himself, Braden Swinson, will be listed as the backup there. Bennett Williams has earned the starting spot at the star position. Jordan Happel or Jeffrey Bassa will back him up. Mikhail Wright is listed as the field cornerback starter with Avante Dickerson backing him up. And then no surprise here, Verone McKinley and Steve Stevens are the 2 safeties. Verone will play field. Steve will play boundary. And the boundary cornerback position, as stated by Mario Cristobal on Friday, Triquez Bridges or Dante Manning will start as that battle continues. So will linebacker, Sam linebacker, boundary cornerback, still competition going there. But again, on defense, I don't think it matters who is the starter as much as it matters how often they rotate in and who's in during crunch time. But that's what we're seeing for defense. And finally, special teams, the kicker battle is going down to the wire. Camden Lewis and Henry Cattleman have both been pushing each other in camp. The place kicker position, it's going to be interesting. Kickoffs, though, will be handled by Camden Lewis. Tom Snee will be the punter. Mikhail Wright and Chris Hudson will be the kick returners, and either Micah Pittman or Seven McGee, who has done some big things in the return game. Micah Pittman and Seven McGee will be the 2 punt returners for the Ducks. The long snapper is Karsten Battles, and he's been really, really good. And the holder, Tom Snee. You can't forget about that holder position. That's the depth chart as announced by Coach Cristobal today, heading into that 11 a.m. kickoff against Fresno State. A reminder, everybody, that the game day policies are different. Things look a little different at Autzen Stadium. I cannot stress this enough. Go to GoDucks.com, take a peek at that organizational chart, and take a peek at all of the, while you're there, take a peek at all the game day policies. Mobile ticketing is here to stay. Get familiar with that GoDucks game day app. Masks will be required inside Autzen Stadium at all times unless eating or drinking. What else can I tell you? Parking lots are going to open 4 hours before kickoff, so that's a 7 a.m. parking lot opening. A lot of breakfast burritos, I imagine, will be consumed, maybe a Bloody Mary or 2 or 4 or however many your group decides. That's what we're all expecting at Autzen Stadium. It's going to be great to have you back. Look, this is a home field advantage unlike any other, and even if you're yelling through a mask, you can still yell pretty darn loud. That's what Coach Cristobal is going to want at Autzen Stadium. The game day policies, though, will be different. It's going to take a little bit longer to get into the stadium. Please have patience. And when showing that proof of vaccination or negative test within the last 3 days, that's what it's going to take to get into Autzen Stadium. Go through those policies on GoDucks.com. And we've gone through them, I think, in depth. We'll do that again throughout the course of this week. All right, we have Mario Cristobal, a ton to hear from. He went through that organizational chart, and before we hear from Coach Cristobal, I wanted you to hear it because, well, he talks about a number of different things. When we come back here on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union, Coach Cristobal meeting with the media because it's game week, ladies and gentlemen. Fresno State coming to town, taking on the Ducks. Back to the Country Financial Studio in a moment, hearing from Coach Cristobal next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Okay, man, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. Cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Show the world that you're tougher than tough. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you in the Country Financial Studio. Thanks for being with us. It is officially game week. Also, fans of note, we've got a big Oregon football coaches show planned for you on Wednesday. You can watch the show on the Oregon football social media channels. You'll be able to stream it on the GoDucks YouTube, Oregon football Facebook, Oregon football Twitter. And, man, I'm really looking forward to this coaches show because Tim DeRuyter is going to join us for the first time. It seemed like it was a good week to introduce you to Coach DeRuyter. Of course, he's playing against Fresno State, where he used to coach. Now, he met with the media today and said, hey, look, this isn't about me. This is about the players, and that's what this is all about. But he was very successful at Fresno State, and it's a big reason why he's got the resume that he's got. Big reason why Oregon wanted him as their defensive coordinator. We're going to talk with him on the Oregon Football Coaches Show. You can watch the show live at 7 o'clock on the Oregon Football social media channels and also listen in on the Oregon Sports Network. Speaking of that, Scott, it's almost football season now. That's when it really starts to hit me is like Jerry and Jorgie are going to be in here, and that's gonna be great. Hey, so this is gonna be my theme throughout the week. Anytime we get an 11 a.m. kickoff at Autzen, I want to know. I'm a stern believer that the breakfast burrito is the best tailgate option for a morning football game because you can have it in one hand and you can still walk around and shake hands or high five or throw a football. Maybe you're holding a beverage in that hand at times. I just think that it's the ultimate breakfast option for tailgaters. If anybody has any other suggestions, though, I want to know about it. Mario Cristobal, the Oregon football head coach, met with the media just this morning. Well, really, it was this afternoon. It was at noon. Days run together. Time runs together. He talked with the media about a number of different things, including that organizational chart that we just ran through, his weekly press conference. As we get ready for Fresno State, here's Coach Cristobal.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate you joining us this morning and being here with us. Obviously, extremely excited and fired up about game week finally being here. Our guys have worked really hard and done everything possible to get themselves in great condition and preparation for this opportunity and for this season. They've taken obviously protocol and COVID very seriously. I mean, we're almost just about the mid-90s from a vaccination standpoint, which is important. This means a lot to them, so they want to take every precaution they can. That being said, they understand the challenge ahead of us. Real good football team that played some great football this past weekend. Certainly have a lot of information and thoughts on them and us. Also, I've had plenty of information on our depth chart and some of the stuff that you guys have seen. I could get into some of those details as well, but probably best to just open up the questions and we'll roll from there.
Mario, on that front, Troy being listed as the starter at X, just what did he show as a freshman to be able to do that? And for Devin's spot at that position, is that due to just some limitations in preseason that, you know, he's a little bit lower down just because of participation in preseason?
Yeah, no, I think you hit it right on the head. Troy's done a great job proving himself as a guy that we feel can win football games here. Just practice at a high level, got here in January, put in the right kind of investment in the weight room, in his body, his development physically and mentally, and made a lot of plays in practice. To that note as well, yeah, Devin is working through something, was limited earlier in camp and is working to, you know, he's still going to be a contributor, and I'm sure he'll work his way to a more prominent role, and that's what we expect of him.
Coach, it seems like this year in this camp, you have a lot of guys, a lot of depth. How do you view your depth heading into this season, and maybe how to get the best use out of that in game situations?
Well, actually, I think we need some more depth. You know, I wish we had some more. It seems like every time you feel like you're reaching the levels that you want, a guy gets nicked up or you may lose a guy or whatnot. So I don't think, you know, you're ever exactly where you want to be, but at certain positions we are, and others we're still developing guys. So, you know, you want to make sure that it's not only depth, but it's quality depth. It's guys that can go in there and play at a high level, win football games. We're approaching that at a lot of different places. As you can see, there's there's still some competition at some spots. You look over at the boundary corner position where both Triquez and Dante have had great camp. You know, right now those guys are splitting time with the ones. You know, you look at, of course, Justin Flo and Drew Mathis. Justin got nicked up early, so he missed some time, but both those guys have been going in there, and they've both been playing great football for us. Offensive line-wise, you know, Steven and Salah, they've been playing, going back and forth and playing multiple positions like we always do at the offensive line. The tight end position we're really excited about because you have quality depth there, and since they are two different positions, you know, the way we play the Y and the F, all those guys are going to be playing, and they'll be playing on special teams as well. Young backs have really proven themselves. We talked about Troy already at wide receiver. You know, the kicking position has been a really good battle, and Cam Lewis has done really well. So that'll go into this week to decide who's going to kick for us to open the season or whatnot. But, you know, I think all in all, and of course, the two quarterback spot, who does that go to right now? We're going to play that into this week as well, and hopefully have information for a little bit later in the week.
Yeah, Mario, your secondary at corner has 5 freshmen back there. Just kind of your thoughts on the youth and those guys are going to have to play, whether they're maybe ready for the big time or not.
Well, we knew going into the season that was going to be not an issue, but an opportunity for these guys. We had 5 guys go on to the next level or graduate. I think 4 of them, you know, end up getting picked up by the NFL and whatnot. So we knew that whoever came in was going to have to contribute, and the guys that were here were going to have to step up and play significant downs or be called upon to be starters. It's great to see a guy like Triquez develop like he's been developing because he certainly is very valuable to this football team as a player and a person, and he's played really good football. Dante Manning being healthy for the first time since he's been here also has been shown that he's going to be a great player. So all in all, even though they're young, they're going against some really good receivers and a very, we feel, explosive offense. So they're getting really good experience. We're very confident in them.
Having now been able to watch a little Fresno State, pretty impressive performance, especially from their offense and their defense, I think, on Saturday. What stood out to you on film and kind of some early thoughts on the Bulldogs?
Yeah, no, we watched them extensively, and I'm with you. Just very impressive. You could tell it's a team that returns a lot of starters. I believe 20 of 22, if I'm not mistaken. They're explosive on offense, and it relates to a couple different things. Number one, at running back, they're about as good as you'll find, not only on the West Coast in their conference, but around the country. I know that Rivers has shattered just about every record at the university. They find just different ways to get on the ball. He's not just running the ball; he's catching it out of the backfield. He's creating explosive plays by getting the ball in space or getting them in jumbled sets, because their tight ends are healthy now. So 12 personnel is now more of a real thing for them. Different tempos certainly create some issues. A very experienced quarterback, coming over from Washington. I believe they led the Mountain West last year in passing. Were a top 10 team in passing, top 10 or top 20. And you could tell by the efficiency of their passing game, the timing, the precision of their passing game, their system, the ability to get the ball out when they need to, and the ability to set up and protect and launch it down the field when they want to. Explosive at receiver. We all saw, the different plays, the big plays that Cropper made last week. So, offensively, I think it certainly was a focal point for them this offseason to really get the offensive line going, because they had a great performance week one. I believe 9 of their guys already have starting experience. So those guys gelled really well, and they played a good physical game. On defense, disruptive. Whenever you hold a team to 100 yards of total offense and a shutout, you're playing really well, and it starts up front. I mean, their interior defensive line is impressive. 320-pounders that could bounce you back. They play well with their hands. Even though that schematically, they're lining up in 4 down most of the time, unless they're faced with 12 personnel. These guys, they strike, they move. Their pressure packages are diverse, both on 1st and 2nd down and on 3rd down, but just very heavy-handed, very active guys. Create a lot of issues with their stunts, with speed of power rushes on the edges. You saw the sack fumble that really got the game going from a momentum standpoint on an RPO. Just one with speed, and then with the different ways they attack you, they'll mesh charge some of the quarterback read stuff and make it a really tough deal for the quarterback to make a decision and create more negative plays. And they had tremendous success. At linebacker, they just play really, really hard, and they run you down. A lot of experience at linebacker, a lot. And the way that they play their secondary, even though there's some of the things we see in practice, because there are some similarities, but they're just very aggressive. They're downhill at safety, but they can cover you. Great man-to-man skills as well. And they have it outside also. They smothered their opponent in week one, so we expect a great challenge.
Mario, Tim and Nick wouldn't be human if there wasn't something to this week for them specifically. How do you view it as a head coach when they're going up against a former program and obviously accomplished quite a bit while they were there, but not the way that they wanted it to end either?
I never got into that. I mean, to me, all that stuff is really irrelevant. It's going to be about the players. It's going to be about preparation and how we play the game. So, maybe that's something that's reflected upon after the fact, but going in, I don't think that could ever be a part of the equation.
That's Mario Cristobal, the Oregon football head coach, meeting with the media ahead of the 11 a.m. kickoff on Saturday. The Ducks taking on Fresno State. Really looking forward to getting back to Autzen Stadium. New game day policies. You can read them all on GoDucks.com. It's funny. I have this conversation a lot, like with my own self. What should I prioritize on the show to talk about and make sure that we go in depth on? I've read through the open letter to Oregon fans on the game day policies on GoDucks.com so many times now that I've tried to hit the highlights for you, but there's so much information, and everybody's game day is a little different. If you're someone that used to use the LTD shuttles, a reminder that is different this year. There's only going to be 3 park and ride locations, and LTD won't be providing the service. Instead, it's going to be a group from campus who's providing the service. It's just things like that. There's so many of them that I just really encourage you to get familiar with it and to read and ask any questions, and we will do our best. If you have questions that are specific, I have done my best on the show to answer those. If you have them, please let me know. When we come back, more from Coach Cristobal. He continued to meet with the media, some more updates on that organizational chart, and some thoughts on Fresno State next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Welcome to Toyota's National Sales Event.
Thanks. I've been waiting to get a new Toyota all year.
Well, right now we've got exciting offers on our lineup of 2021s, like Camry, Corolla, RAV4, Tacoma.
Highlander! Jan, do you mind watching Chance?
Oh, okay. Listen, Chance, I run a tight ship, so I don't want any funny business. Who's a good boy? Toyota's national sales event is on.
Current offers end September 7th. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Toyota, let's go places.
Dear past, present, and future football watchers, football is back! So consider this your official excuse for always putting football watching first, courtesy of Pepsi. That haircut appointment? Seeing the in-laws for the first time in ages?
It's been so long.
Nope, sorry, Susan, not if it's on Sunday. Long story short, after the year we've all had, we think you could use a little football watching. So crack open a Pepsi and cheer your football watching face off. With love, Pepsi. Made for football watching. That's what I like.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. They can help save lives by not having play dates. That's right. By replacing get-togethers with virtual play dates and video chats, they can help slow the evil spread of germs. And if your superheroes do go outside, make sure they continue their superhero wing by staying 6 feet away from others to protect everyone in America land. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack right here with you inside the Country Financial Studio. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Hoodoo, longtime supporters of Oregon athletics. Let's jump right back into Mario Cristobal. His weekly press conference every Monday. This is basically going to be a Monday show. We recap what happened over the weekend, then we hear from Coach Cristobal getting you ready for the next week, and then Graeme Abel, Oregon soccer head coach, will join us every Monday, and we'll recap their season, in some great detail every Monday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Every time we talk with Coach Cristobal, it's brought to you by the Willamette Valley Cancer Institute and Research Center. Fight like a duck with cancer care you can count on. Coach Cristobal and his Ducks getting ready to fight with the Bulldogs on Saturday at 11 a.m. Part 2 of Coach Cristobal today.
Coach, looks like from what we saw at the organizational chart, Bennett Williams is the guy at star for now. What have you seen from him to, kind of separate himself and solidify him back there in the secondary?
Well, a lot of different things. His command of the defense has improved dramatically. His investment in learning exactly what to do, how to do it, and why we're doing it that way has been impressive. Bennett combines the best of both worlds. He's very physical in the run game, in the perimeter screen game, and he has developed some really impressive man-to-man coverage skills as well. Technique-wise, eye discipline-wise, he's had a great camp. Bennett Williams has to be on the field regardless of the situation in that position and some of the things that have transpired. So he has earned this, and I think every single coach and player on this team will tell you how fired up they are to watch him play and how impressed they've been with him in camp.
Fresno State had a lot of their running backs be used in the passing game, just the challenges of facing that and just the importance of having whoever you put on that guy to know their keys.
Oh, without a doubt. Anytime you have a running back that has really good ball skills, good receiving skills, from a formational standpoint, they just do a lot, and they go tempo as well. So you're going to have to get your call, get lined up, and then go play football. You have to create a matchup that can do both, that can run him down, of course, and play the run when they decide to pound the ball. But you got to be able to cover him when he comes out of the backfield in different ways. Sometimes they're ready to detach, sometimes out of the backfield on free releases. So, let's just say you can't emphasize enough the importance of knowing, what to do against this particular team as it relates to the backfield, because they'll hurt you in a lot of different ways.
Talk about the backup position kind of being open still. Are you hoping to see some actual game reps on Saturday, or what more do you need to see before deciding which guy is going to back up Anthony?
Well, all we want from Saturday is to win the football game. Play well, play to the best of our ability. I have too much respect for our opponents for the game of football to ever, even think like that. Not to mention we're playing an opponent which, you think about it, Fresno State has played for the conference championship for the last 8 years. Okay, a tremendous history. They have explosive football players that we've recruited, players that the Pac-12 have recruited and have stayed home or close to home over there. So they got a really good football team. Our players are very well aware from the simplicity of watching film. The film never lies. Film tells you exactly what you're going to be facing and what you're going to have to prepare and do to have success. So, again, this is a great challenge for our football team and a great opportunity. And all we're focused on really is preparing to the best of our ability to have success on Saturday.
Coach, I see that heading into this Fresno State game, all the 5 starters on offensive line from last year kept their job, at least according to this organizational chart. How close were the guys behind them, pushing them for those jobs during this fall camp?
Yeah, real close. Well, that gives me the opportunity to jump into a couple of updates here as well, because there's a lot. And then some guys got dinged up along the way that were really challenging and pushing. And so things right now, they are where they are with still some battles, and we're going to keep promoting competition now, but a couple guys that stand out. Number one, like Jonathan Dennis, he had an injury the other day, and he was just about splitting time with the ones. Okay. And we think his injury is going to be probably a little bit longer. So he may be out for a little while. We think that a couple guys that we listed on here for you earlier, and I'll go right down the list. Okay. Guys like Faope have really played well. So, you can expect to see guys like him. Dawson Jaramillo has had a great camp, and he's done it at every position. The ultimate swing guy. He's done it at center, guard, and tackle. So you can expect to see him play. Marcus Harper's repped at center and has played at guard, and we feel comfortable that he needs to play for us to be successful. Jackson Powers Johnson has had a great camp as well as another guy that has pushed and has earned playing time. Now, when and how we're going to play these guys, I'm not ready to say that yet. We feel comfortable going into the game and confident that we have guys that we can rep in there, and that we have a solid starting 5/6, because again, those guys at tackle have played tackle and guard on the right side. But yeah, it wasn't, let's just say this thing didn't start like this and end like this without challenge. This thing was back and forth, and a lot of great competition, and some nicks along the way, certainly swayed maybe a little bit one way or the other, but proud of all those guys. Those guys went in that room, they welcome competition, and they did a great job grooming it. And, it's really led to a great camp.
You mentioned their defensive line, Mario. They were 3rd in the nation in sacks per game last year, and then they add to it with a player like Boehm. What do you see from him, not just on Saturday, but did you go back and watch anything from Cal Poly? I realize that's at a different level of competition, and I think him and Stephen Jones have a history going back many, many years. So just what did you see from that player in particular, since, like I say, it came from a Cal Poly but showed up on Saturday?
Well, we study everybody in the offseason. So we knew some of their additions were going to be extremely helpful to them. And if you can find a spot on that defense to play, you're a really good football player, because they've had a lot of success. You mentioned about their statistically in terms of sacks. It's not just sacks. It's how many times they pressure the quarterback, how many quarterbacks hit they have. And it's a lot. They're so athletic, they move so well, and their pressure packages are disguised well enough where people have a tough time moving with them, staying with their man side of the protection, sliding to them, or, capturing the guys that come in on different pressures and stunts. So he adds obviously even more to what they have already. Again, mentioned before, just tremendous amount of respect for them and their football players, and looking forward to the opportunity.
You mentioned a lot about having the opportunity of having fans back in the stands for this game. It's also the first time in over a year you'll have recruits able to come watch a game. Just the importance of that. And I know you can't get into specifics of names and such, but just how nice is it going to be able to show off your program in an actual game day atmosphere?
Well, Autzen is a game changer. We know that. Our fans, for us, it's family here, always has been. It's just a game changer. It's different, always has been. So it's priceless. It's the best way to describe it in every single aspect, from the enthusiasm it generates within our program, our players, the excitement, just a flat out just juice that comes from the stadium. And now if you're a high school prospect and you're sitting in there and you're taking all that stuff in, it's hard not to want to be a part of it. So no, it's about as important as it gets. Certainly something that we've been missing for a long time. I know that, starting with the fan part, our players are really, really just, they're chomping at the bit to go in there, but they're focused on what we have to do to make sure that we perform to the best of our ability on Saturday.
From an injury perspective, Mario, is it safe to say everybody on the organizational chart you released is available to play, or are there some players that maybe are questionable for Saturday?
Well, I think I feel like we're in a position where we can say with plenty of confidence that these guys are available. I'm sure there's some other guys that are available also, and there could be some changes in there somewhere, and we'll get those to you guys if that is the case, should those things arise. There's just, there's so much stuff going on in special teams as you work out those particular units that sometimes it does affect this thing right here. For example, sometimes your fourth running back, has special teams value where, from we're home, so it's a little bit different, but from a playing travel squad standpoint, he may bring a little bit more value than maybe your 6th or 7th linebacker. So things like that are still in play, but overall, I feel confident that for the most part, this organizational chart should be on point.
How about that from Coach Cristobal? Organizational chart today, 11 a.m. kickoff on Saturday at Autzen Stadium. Can't get here soon enough. Meanwhile, one sport that's already kicked off and already has a couple wins. Graeme Abel is here, Oregon soccer head coach. Hey, buddy.
How we doing?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's 2 wins to start the season. Not too bad, huh?
We're doing okay.
Just okay?
Things to learn from still, but no, we're in a good place.
Is a coach ever 1,000% happy with where their team is at?
No.
Didn't think so. He's Graeme Abel, Oregon soccer head coach, coming off a big win on Sunday after they were down 2-1. Scored 3 straight goals to win 4-2. They're now 2-0-1 on the season. Quick timeout when we come back. It's our weekly chat with the Oregon soccer guru, Graeme Abel, after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Is that the sound of an ooey gooey cheesy crunchy slice of P-I-Z-Z-A? Obviously, but as good as that sounds, we think it can get even better. Oh yeah, that's the sound of a freshly opened fizz-filled Pepsi. The only thing that can take this flavor medley of crunchy dough, mouth-watering cheese, and savory sauce to the next level. How about another bite? Pepsi and pizza sound like a match made in heaven and taste even better. Pizza, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song. I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, it's Duck Insider presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Graeme Abel, our guest, always kind enough to join us every Monday. Coming back from a matchup on a Sunday. So what's the team doing today? Did you take the day off? How does that work out after a Sunday game?
We did recovery today. We did a little bit of video this morning. Took a lot of areas where we continue to grow. Really positive areas. Took a look at those. We had a group do recovery, and then we had a training group to get everyone balanced up going into the off day tomorrow, and then start preparing for Santa Barbara on Wednesday.
Santa Barbara coming up. So 2-0-1 after a few matches to start the season. Down 2-1, you scored 3 straight goals to win 4-2. Eden Hardy had a career day, 5 points for her. That's, by the way, the most points in a single match since 2010 for a Duck. How special was Eden Hardy yesterday?
She, since my time here, she's just come on leaps and bounds, and confidence-wise, and the way she's invested in herself physically and invested in the technical side of things. And I think we're seeing, a really special Eden Hardy right now. And so I'm super excited to see how far she can go this year. And she's she's done awesome for us.
So we got to ask you about this quick start. We were just talking during the break. You scored before a minute had even elapsed on the game clock. I've never seen that before in my time at Oregon.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. Walk us through that.
We prioritize set pieces. We actually scored off of our goal kick and then scored off of their goal kick yesterday. So we prioritized that side of the ball, not only the traditional set pieces of corners and free kicks and things like that. So we prioritized all sides of it. Ball's gone over the top, good kick from Maddie. Zoe's gone up for the flick. Ball's gone over the top. We were able to play the ball in behind, and then Eden's picked the ball up 50 yards from goal and took it. So, once she gets going, she's pretty hard to stop. But the ability to beat a player inside the 18-yard box and that little bit of composure at the end just to tuck it under the goalkeeper, it's a really good goal.
So also, you're talking about a goalkeeper assist on that continuous play. That's only the third one in the history of Oregon soccer, and we saw it yesterday. I mean, how many of those have you seen in your career?
Oh, not too many. I think I saw one. The last one I saw was 2018 or 2019, a lesson there to Mallory Pugh, I think it was, when we played Australia in Denver.
Okay.
Was the last one I saw. So they don't happen too often. But no, great distribution from Maddie, and her first career start as well, and she was awesome for us.
So you get down, and I want to ask you about Maddie in a second. You get down 2-1 after that quick start goal. What was different after you start out 1-0 before going on that 3 unanswered goal score streak?
I don't know. We talked about this in the break. I think it knocked us off our game plan a little bit in terms of getting the early goal, and NAU did a good job at hitting us in transition, and we managed to collect ourselves at halftime and just had the chat, and it was a simple chat. If this isn't us that we've seen in the last 35 minutes of the game here, we need to get back to doing what we do, doing to the very best of our ability. And came out in the second half and got back into that kind of mode, and then got 2 answered goals to go ahead and win it.
That's crazy to think, though. You're playing with a lead like that, and suddenly the game plan completely changes.
Yeah,
that's a wild thing. I thought it was really interesting when you said that, Coach, because for me as the innocent bystander looking on, I'm going, great start, but it totally changes 90 minutes.
You can't prepare for it. It's not like you say to your team, hey, listen, if we score in the first minute, hey, then, we're going to do this. But the great thing with regards to our kids was, we grabbed that goal before halftime to level it up, and we could go into halftime a little bit more even-keeled in terms of looking at the game. And I think, that's been another area where we've really evolved in terms of, down 2-1, didn't panic, keep doing what we're doing, we're still a threat in certain areas of the game, and we managed to pull ourselves back into it and then accelerate out from the start of the second half.
Graeme Abel, Oregon soccer head coach, joining us. You mentioned Maddie Goldberg, her first career start. What'd you think of her and filling in?
Awesome. She made a really important save. I think it was back end of the second half to keep her. I believe it was at 3-2 at that point. And so, again, for us to get her experience this early in the season as well, and that competition's wide open right now. We've got 2 really good goalkeepers, which is hard to do in the collegiate game, and we're ecstatic that the both of them are going to now compete throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, Leah gets banged up, and she had such a great freshman year. Yeah. We've seen just how good she is, but this is what competition's all about, right?
It's what you do in your environment. You try to create an environment that fosters that competition, and it's a healthy competition where they're battling one another out, but there's great support for one another as well. And I've said before, Thomas Osborne, who handles our goalkeepers, has done an incredible job with that. Leah and Maddie are doing an incredible job with it. So they're going to go from strength to strength as well.
So I'm going to read you a statistic, and I want your reaction. You probably know this. Oregon, this has been a great start because you now have 11 goals in 3 games, just 3 back of last season's 16-game total of 14.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I say that, and you can't be complacent, I know, as a coach. I don't know, maybe you don't want your team to hear a stat like that from someone like me because you want to keep it going. But what's been the key, Coach? I mean, talk to me about big picture in these 3 games so far and your offseason, everything else. What's been the key to the offensive success early on?
We did a lot of work early on last year, just in terms of our organization, as a group when we didn't have the ball. And we continue with that organizational piece, and there's still some things we've got to clean up on the defending side of the ball. But we've now started to invest more time on the attacking side of the ball, and you're seeing the learning from last year as well, from getting all of our student athletes back, and you're seeing that learning, those relationships continue to develop, those relationships, growing and growing and growing. So, and then we added, other individuals as well. Caitlin Polkolbo's come in, Kes Elmore's come in, Alexia Romero, she played last year. She didn't have the fall with us, but now she's fully kind of, settled in with us, and we played Alicia in the midfield yesterday as well. So you're starting to see all those relationships really grow and develop. So it's, we're not going to get too high. We never do. It's about the next performance. We closed yesterday's performance today, and it's about now focusing on Friday and what we need to do to be successful on Friday night.
You mentioned somebody else that I wanted to ask you about, and that's Alicia Barbieri. I mean, just her presence on the field. I mean, I'm an amateur, and I can see it. What do you see as a coach?
And we've thrown her around a little bit.
Yeah.
She plays as centre back, she plays a midfielder. Yesterday, just with us having the cover with Croy being out, we needed to have some cover, so we brought her off the bench. She was actually our backup goalkeeper as well yesterday, so
really
she's been able to do it all. But no, she brings a great physical presence, is phenomenal technically as a player, and she has got a huge future here at Oregon.
So is that like in baseball, you have an emergency catcher kind of a thing? Man.
Yeah, she was played basketball as a kid and stuff, so she can put her leg through it as well if we need to get rid of the ball, and it's got the height. So
I never thought about that. Like who's your emergency goalkeeper?
It was Ali Cook last year. So so you can see there's a trend there with the height piece.
Sure. Well, that tracks. Yeah, that tracks. So Ali could do it too. You're telling me? If
Ali
really
could do it as well. Yeah, Ali could do it too.
How do you prepare for that in practice? I mean, you just say like, okay, today, a little shorthand. Let's get you a little bit of work. How'd you do that last week?
Not too much. Not too much. We just talk to them, let them know, hey, listen, this is what we're looking at. We, give them a couple of little pointers, but we don't want to overthink it. Make sure there's a pair of gloves there for them and things like that. So, it's. You have to do it. We had it even with the national team. I think Julie Ertz was our backup goalkeeper.
Oh, really?
In case you make your 3 subs and someone gets sent off, and in she comes.
Interesting. That's wild. That's really wild. Graeme Abel joining us, Oregon soccer head coach. Thinking about the defense now, I haven't really asked you much about that because there's been such a focus on the offense. You happy with where your defense is here through a few weeks?
Yes, I mean we've had so much rotation just because we started off with one back line, then we picked up some knocks, so we rotated some players in, and then obviously, like I said, Croy was out yesterday, and Leah was out, so it was a new goalkeeper in there, different centre back pairing. We rotated Shaw back down just because she had done such an exceptional job for us last year that we wanted to kind of get some type of stability. So we've done okay. And we know there's still a long way to go, and the more games our backline plays together, the more solid they become. So we'll continue with that growth as well.
You touched on the rotational piece. I mean, I feel like so much of maybe any position, but I feel like defense in particular, there's a lot of a feel with it, right? Like there's a lot of communication that happens without communicating in the
understanding
sense,
one
right?
another for sure. And we got lucky last year. Obviously Hannah Taylor got injured early on, and so after that we pretty much had those 5, including Leah, and then it was Croy, Shaw, Mia, and Chai. Those 5 were pretty much together for the entire season, and you saw that as the year went by. In terms of the type of backline. So we'll get that again. We're playing in a 19-game season this year, so it's we're technically, if you look at last season, we're game 1 now, going into it on Friday for 16 more games. So we'll start to see that back line become more solidified, and those relationships continue to grow.
7 o'clock Friday, UC Santa Barbara is in town for the Ducks. It's going to be on the Oregon live stream, as the home games always are if they're not on Pac-12 Network, and our buddies at KWVA, the student radio station, will have the broadcast for you as well. UC Santa Barbara, you mentioned you're turning the page toward them. Keys to a victory.
It's about us, and we always talk about that. The focus is always on what we do. We knew we weren't technically as sharp as we wanted to be. this weekend. So we've looked at that as coaches. We looked at that as a team. So it's about, making sure that when we get into the attacking third of the field, we're set up in terms of the areas we want to be set up and the areas we want to deliver the ball from, making sure that, we're set up underneath that. So if any ball does come out, we can keep a team pressed into their half of the field. So if we can start to get those things right and, that level of concentration, that level of detail, then we'll keep going. We'll keep trending in the right direction that we want to do as a program, as a team.
He's Graeme Abel, the Oregon soccer head coach. What did we miss? Anything?
Nothing. I don't think so.
All right.
It's always enjoyable to be on here.
Hey, thanks for being here. Always
Thank
appreciate
you. I
it.
appreciate it.
It's going to be awesome. It's a great way to get started with the weekend at home because you got Friday night Oregon soccer, Saturday morning Oregon football. That's what my Friday and Saturday is going to be looking like. So everybody come out and join us because it's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for the time, as always, and I'll probably see you in the hallway.
In about 2 minutes.
Yeah. Graeme Abel, Oregon soccer head coach. 7 o'clock on Friday at Pepe Field. The Ducks hosting at UC Santa Barbara. When we come back, your Cafe 2-minute drill, what happened around Oregon athletics. Also a few more thoughts on that Oregon football organizational chart as we head toward kickoff on Saturday here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Joey Mack here with you in the Country Financial Studio. Time for your Cafe 2-minute drill. Cafe longtime supporters of Duck Insider. One of the things we like to do every Monday on the show is if we don't have a full segment to dive deep into everything, and if you miss it toward the end of the show, I like to give you the rapid fire. Here's everything that happened around Oregon athletics. The other thing that comes to mind for me whenever we do this is always there's so many things that I may not do like the full, minute, 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute, 5-minute, 20-minute segment on, but every now and then there's something that's like, no, man, we need to go through this. Like, we need to mention this. There's a few of those things here today, particularly with Oregon volleyball, as Matt Ulmer, Oregon volleyball head coach, is going to join us here coming up tomorrow. The AVCA coaches poll is out for week 1 following opening weekend. The Ducks up to number 13 in that coaches poll, and that's after a very successful weekend for Oregon volleyball. 3 wins. The Invitational Tournament, Oregon Invitational, was a dominant start for Oregon volleyball. Sweeps all the way through. And I got to say, I don't think I was ever nervous. And that just says something about Oregon volleyball. Got a chance to watch all of the 3 matches this weekend. Sweeps all the way through. 3 Ducks were named to the Oregon Invitational All-Tournament team. One of them was Brooke Nuneviller, and I wanted to make sure that we reference her because she averaged 3 kills and 3 digs per set. I mean, that's you just talk about being a Swiss Army knife in any sport. That's exactly what Brooke Nuneviller is doing. Elsewhere, the Ducks had the likes of Abby Hansen, who averaged 2.2 kills per set. She hit 720 on the weekend, which is outstanding. And she blocked nearly 1.5 attempts per set. Not bad, huh? And Georgia Murphy, who averaged 4.5 digs per set, also on the Oregon Invitational All-Tournament team. The Ducks will next head to the state of Texas for matches against number 23 Rice and then SMU on September 2nd and 3rd. Ducks are actually traveling tomorrow. We'll talk with Matt Ulmer before they head out, and then we'll see where this Duck team ends up after their trip to Texas. But a top 25 matchup coming up against Rice. Pretty darn cool. We're going to talk with Matt Ulmer about that coming up on the show tomorrow. Women's soccer, you just heard us talking with Graeme Abel. If you're live with us, they were down 2-1, came back 1-4-2, and Eden Hardy with a career day, 5 points, were the most by a Duck in a match since 2010. Ducks are a little banged up on the Oregon soccer roster and hoping that they will, well, let's just say get a little bit healthier here moving forward. Cross-country season officially starts on Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. The Ducks will be up at Lewis and Clark for the opener. It's scheduled for about 6:45, the start time up in the Portland area. Oregon soccer, Oregon volleyball, and now Oregon cross-country will all be in action. And you know who's joining them on Saturday? That would be Oregon football. An 11 a.m. kickoff for the Ducks at Autzen Stadium. GoDucks.com, click on that red banner at the top. Read about all of the different game day policies that are going to be different this year. For example, the Mashofsky Center will be closed for the first game. That does not mean the Mashofsky Center will be closed all season long. That, like everything else, with the exception of mobile ticketing, will be evaluated on a week-to-week basis. That's your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. Cafe Yum restaurants throughout Oregon and Washington serving Northwest-inspired catering and takeout for your next gathering or meeting. Menus are at cafeyum.com. And that is your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. Oregon football, though, with that organizational chart coming out, I don't think there are any surprises, but the highlights for you, of course, Anthony Brown is the starting quarterback. At the tight end position, you're going to see maybe a few different guys. The freshman and Maliki Montavau, maybe DJ Johnson, maybe Cam McCormick, all those guys listed as potential starters. At the slot wide receiver position, it's going to either be Micah Pittman or Jalen Redd. Right tackle, might see a few guys rotating with like Stephen Jones, Malasala Amave-Laulu. Going to see all of those guys rotating. The will linebacker position between Drew Mathis and Justin Flood, those guys still battling. You're going to see both of them, I think, playing on Saturday. Same thing with the boundary cornerback spot between Triquez Bridges and Dante Manning. Whew. I think you're going to see all those guys play. And that's the point. Also, place kicker Camden Lewis, Henry Cattleman. That has come down to the wire a bit for the Ducks. Your organizational chart, if you want to view it, if you missed us talking about it, it's, of course, on GoDucks.com, along with the full Oregon game notes package. Tell you what, you just love that sound of flipping through game notes and that fresh printed smell. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you was.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are